One of my favourite questions to ask a pug parent is where did Puggie get their name or nickname or what was the inspiration? And I'm never disappointed with the answer because it's always from a place of love and fun, which is what a puggy is to their core. Hello, humans and puggies. Welcome to the Pug Life Show, brought to you by Pug Parties, because your pug deserves to be the best dressed at the party. And you can check out their outfits at pugparties.com. I am your host, Donna, and with me are my puggy co-hosts, Rosie and Kenji, currently happily snoozing in the background if you hear the very subtle snores. Now, have you ever wondered what your puggy's name says about you or you as a Puggie Pawrent? Well, let me tell you, I asked myself that question after my conversation with Gurvinder about Espresso and Martini, which are two fabulous puggy names. And I ended up down a rabbit hole reading a multitude of articles. Yes, I'm not the only one who has thought about this apparently. And I thought I would share some of the more interesting things I discovered in my reading journey about what is in a puggy's name. But before we zoom in, I want to remind you to subscribe to our newsletter in the show notes so you get advance notice of our next episode and much, much more. One of my favourite questions to ask a pug parent is where did Puggie get their name or nickname or what was the inspiration? And I'm never disappointed with the answer because it's always from a place of love and fun, which is what a puggy is to their core. Our last puggy interview was with Gurvinder and her two puggies, Espresso and Martini, and I love the story around how they got their names. I also love the idea of being able to yell out, Espresso Martini, in the dog park and see two beautiful black pugs come running. Shaken, not stirred, anyone? I know, I'm sorry, it had to be said. Now, I get that some parents didn't get to choose their puggie's name because they're a rescue and their name is pretty ingrained by the time they arrive in your home. But that doesn't stop us from calling our puggies a term of endearment or a nickname. I call Rosie Rosie Posy and Kenji is Kenji Bubble or Kenji Bear. And sometimes they don't make much sense to anyone else but you and your puggy. But they know it's your special name for them and they still come running when they hear it. Either way, after talking to Gurvinder about Espresso and Martini, I got to thinking, as I do, what puggy names, and an article that I read many years ago about dog names and what they say about how you perceive your dog, fur child or just a pet, back in the days when fur child was just being coined. I thought I'd see if I could find it again since the original article was in a physical magazine in the early 2000s, and that I was certain that it would have been digitised by now. Anyway, no luck finding that specific article, but lo and behold, who would have thought that it's a topic that has had a lot of conversation dedicated to it over the last few years, including what are the most popular names each year, exactly like the annual popular baby names list. I was impressed. There is a list every year. How did I not know about this? I, of course, rescue puggies, so they come pre-named, and we've only changed the name of two of our puggies, Winston and Charles, and that was because we thought they were young enough to be renamed. But we didn't go to a pet registry to find their names. I'd made a promise to my grandfather that I would name my next black pug Winston after Winston Churchill. And Andrew said that Charles needed an equally auspicious name, hence Charles after Charles Kingsford Smith. Yes, I would use the full name in the park when they were up to no good, which was difficult noting how long their names were. By the time I'd finished getting through every syllable of their combined names, they'd racked off somewhere, knowing that they'd been caught up to no good, and I was out of breath from yelling. It was an effective diversionary tactic on their behalf, really. Anyway, I digress from the topic, and it is a fascinating one that I ended up going down a little bit of a rabbit hole with, but it was so worth noting what I discovered, and I wanted to share with you on today's PUGCAST what I had learned. So let me regale you with some interesting backstory to pet naming, and then I promise I'll tell you what different names say about you as a pug parent. I promise to include links to the articles I reference in the podcast notes, So you can have a look for yourself if you wish to do so at any other time. So, the first piece of interesting history I found was about the oldest pet cemetery in the US, for instance. So, the most cited data on the history of dog naming comes from Hartsdale Pet Cemetery, purportedly the oldest pet cemetery in the US. It was established in 1896 in Westchester County, New York. It's the final resting place of more than 80,000 pets, ranging from your average dog, cat, bird, and rabbit to a lion cub that lived at the Plaza Hotel, as well as a Bengal tiger. Now, in 2021, there was a study of data from Hartsdale looking at 25,000 names of cats and dogs from 1905 on. They determined that the most popular dog name for each decade, which progressed from Queenie in the 1930s to Lady in the 1960s to Max, which was the most popular dog name from the 1980s to the 2000s. Now, I promise that we will circle back to the most popular names of 2024 later, where I think you might find something interesting about this year's most popular names for our dogs. An interesting side note, did you know that one of the oldest pet name records would be that of the 14th century knight who had a hound called Percival, which is a name you don't really hear around the leash-free park anymore. But there you go. I thought that was actually really quite interesting. Now, another article I stumbled upon was called "We're Obsessed with This Strange Rule for Dog Names in France." And once I read the article, I knew that I had to share it with you. Now, according to the Connexion France, which I hope I've pronounced correctly, this actually goes back to 1926. Since then, dog owners who hope to register their pedigree dogs have had their names for their dogs or named their names of their dogs in accordance with the LOF, which is the Society Central Canine in its Livre d'Originals. I'm really sorry, it's really terrible pronouncing, which basically means naming them from the letter of the year they were born. Now, this is because the Societe has responsibility for keeping track of the genealogy of pedigree dogs, and this rule was brought in to simplify the listing of these pups, as sometimes owners would delay registering their dog at birth, making registers not quite accurate, with older dogs appearing after younger dogs. So since the introduction of this rule, the letters for each year have cycled through the alphabet with some exceptions. The letters K, Q, W, X, and Y are left out due to the scarcity of names. As for French dog names, the letter for 2024, it is V, which got me thinking, how many Voldemorts are out there this year? But in all seriousness, I'm not sure if I'd find it easier to choose a name if I had to confine it to one letter, especially knowing that 2024 is the letter V. I may need to put a call out in the Facebook group to see how many Puggies out there have a V name. So keep your eyes peeled for the post, because I think I'm going to actually do it. I am really intrigued because I don't think I know any Puggy names with the V. So anyway, enough of that, because we have to get down to the important stuff. What does your pug's name say about you, the Pug Pawrent? Now, I do want to predicate this part of the conversation with the acknowledgement that every Puggie's name is unique to them, and just because someone says that the name you choose means something about you doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate. You love your Puggies, and I know that the name that you have chosen for them reflects their personality like only a Puggie Pawrent can, because you know your Puggie better than anyone else. So there were lots of articles about this, and so I chose two that looked fun and in good taste to share with you. The first had a more generalist vibe around types of names, and you'll understand what I mean as I read them to you. So the first one is animal names, such as bear. And what this says is for you, your pet represents the animal kingdom and all its wonderful inhabitants. You're probably outdoorsy and active and have a strong desire to travel and see the world. Now, I call Kenji Kenji Bear because I think he has a teddy bear face, and I love to travel, but not much of an outdoorsy type. So I think I'm going to take a 50% win on this particular one. Now, the next one is person names, such as Donna. although I have yet to meet a pug called Donna. So please find me a pug called Donna and prove me wrong, friends. Now, what this says is apparently your dog is more like a son or daughter than a pet by using a person name. And a lot of the time, you treat them that way, as in you spoil them rotten. Oh, excuse me, pugs. Maybe you occasionally feed your dog off your dinner plate or post too many pictures of them, but why wouldn't you? And so, as you know, I have a Rosie, and she is the most spoilt princess you've ever seen. I rest my case, Your Honour. She is by far our fur child. Although we don't feed Rosie off our plates, probably because she'd never accept leftovers anyway. So the next one is Disney names, such as Nala. Now, if you use a Disney name, you want your dog to be able to do and be anything they set their mind to. To you, nothing is impossible, even magic and fairy tale endings. You are likely a very optimistic person with a strong silly side, and you love goofing off and not taking things too seriously. Now, I do love this description, as I think it embodies pug parents to a T. We have pugs, so we have a strong silly side, and we love goofing off with our pugs. So I am sold on Disney-style names. Now, the next one is classed as cutesy names, such as Squishy. And yes, this was an example of this name in the article. So apparently for you, the best part of having a dog is how adorable they are. Whoop, pugs. You're the person who is almost in tears watching dog videos on the internet and wants to adopt every dog you see. So, okay, I want to meet a pug called Squishy. Forget a dog called or a pug called Donna. Squishy is a name that is so pug. And yes, I want to adopt every foster I care for, and I do tear up over Puggy movies. So the next one is pop culture names, such as Yoda. You consider yourself pretty trendy, apparently. To you, it only makes sense to name your dog after one of your favourite movies or fantasy book series. With that kind of name, you know your dog will essentially become the coolest dog around. Maybe they'll even become the next best thing. Now, I haven't met a Yoda Puggie yet, but all Puggies are the next big thing in my opinion. So, pop culture or not, pugs are there. Now, the next one is food names, such as Peanut or Espresso or Martini. So apparently that says you are, without a doubt, a foodie, but you're also probably a very sweet person who loves all things adorable. Chances are you love good food and good friends and relaxing at home with your food-loving dog. You're a pug parent to a ravenous pug beast at dinner time. Need I say more? And I think that our latest guest, Gurvinder, Espresso Martini, definitely fit into the sweet person who loves adorable things category, in my opinion, as well. So the next one is quirky names, of which they didn't give an example, so I can't even think of what would be classed as quirky. But it says apparently you're a very confident person and you don't really care what anyone else thinks. You're silly and playful, just like your dog's name. So you know what? Name or not, pugs are quirky by nature. So maybe you just need to call your pug Pug or Pugsley and you've hit the quirky name jackpot. So the next one is a sports name such as Champ. Watching sports and talking about sports is a huge part of your life and thus a huge part of your dog's life as well. You might be a pretty active person, but you also enjoy zoning out on the couch and rooting for your favourite team when the game is on. Now, I did think about this one. And thankfully, Andrew hasn't been able to name any more puggies since Charles because I think he would try to get a Collingwood name in there whilst I was away for a weekend. So by the time I got home, our new puggy would be responding to something like pies. And I'd never lived that name down in the park. There is no way in God's green earth he is going to be able to name one of our pugs a sporty name. Not going to happen. So the last one in this particular series, they call them power names, such as Zeus. So in this instance, you believe your dog is a superhero and you want people to see him that way. You are probably a very confident person who has a lot of pride. You probably take great pride in the way people see you and your pet. So similarly, I haven't met a pug called Zeus yet, but there should be more since pug parents are pretty proud of their puggies and they think their puggies are superheroes. Well, at least I know I do. So that was the run-up of the more generic name assessment. The second article I chose was more specific. And they had quite a long list. So I chose a few examples, and I think you'll recognize some popular puggy names in this lot. So the first one is Lady. And apparently that says that you have a refined personality, style and elegance are very important to you. And the lady pug that I knew, she was very refined. Bandit is another name that's quite popular, and it says that apparently you're probably looking for mischief and excitement in your life, things that you are currently lacking. And, if you've got a naughty pug, I think you need to name him Bandit. So another one is Baby. And apparently what this says is that you are yearning for innocence and want to be seen as innocent. I mean, I'm trying to think of a puggy that is innocent but also looks innocent. They've definitely got the innocent face down. I'm not so sure that they're innocent though. So another one is Sam or Max. And for this, you are looking for strength in your life. You are striving for simplicity and appreciate straightforwardness. You avoid complications. And I do know a jug called Max, and he is very straightforward. I also know a Buddy. And apparently, if you name your pug Buddy, you have a straightforward personality, you're athletic, and appreciate genuine companionship. And I know that Buddy, the Buddy that I know, is definitely a great cuddler. And the last one that I chose, the name was Angel. And apparently, if you name your pug Angel, you have a dreamy and possibly melancholic personality. So now, as I said before, I've met puggies with the name Lady, Buddy, and Max, and I think that their names represent their puggy personalities more than their parents, but they may not agree with me. I do wonder if it's a bit of a chicken egg thing in a way. Does the name reflect the pug's personality, or did the pug's personality determine that they needed to be called that particular name because it best represented them? But I think that is a topic for another day. So anyway, I did promise to tell you what the most popular pet names for 2024 were, and I think some of them will be familiar to you as they are pretty popular year on year. So according to Pet Names, Guide for Pet Owners for 2024, Max was the top name for male pooches. Surprise, surprise, noting that historically it's been quite a popular name. Some of the other high scorers included Milo, Buddy, Charlie, Rocky, Bear, Leo, and Teddy, with Max consistently ranking high for several years, reflecting its enduring popularity among pet owners. Now, for the girls. So Bella was the top name for girls, followed by Luna, Lucy, Daisy, Zoe, Lily, Lola, Bailey, and Stella. Now, Bella has enjoyed long-standing popularity, apparently, possibly due to its universal appeal and the influence of popular culture. So there you have it, Puggies. A very quick snapshot of what is in a Puggie's name. And it has been an interesting journey that has got me thinking about what I might name my next Puggie if I get the chance to, and what it will say about me. Now, I'd love to know what your Puggie's name is, and if you think it is an accurate reflection of you as a pug parent, or is it a better reflection of your Puggie's personality? Share with us over in our Facebook group, Living the Pug Life. And if you liked the episode or you think someone else might enjoy it, please share it and leave a review with your favourite podcast host so more pug parents can find us and join in with the fun. It only takes a couple of seconds to give us a 5-star review, and it goes a long way to helping other pug parents find us. So until next time, Puggies, thank you for joining us. Have a pawsome week, and humans, be generous with the snackies.